Jalen Jacoby is presented by Grey Goose.
He is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen Jacoby. What is it that we do?
What up, doe? We give the people what they want.
Happy Veterans Day to everybody. Before we even start the show, we would just like to salute you, everyone who has ever served in our armed forces. Because of you, we're allowed to do what we do. We appreciate your service. Jalen, we have a bombshell report from Woj and McMahon that could change the landscape of the NBA. But we don't start there. We start with this. Jalen, we've all watched all the snaps all year long, and one thing became crystal clear to me, that ESPN is wrong when they power rank the Steelers as the number one team in the NFL. The clear number one team in the NFL to me is the Kansas City Chiefs, and I know you agree with me, and it starts at the top with these two.
For 10 years, we've done an amazing job of not covering the coverage, but in this case, we must do so. Andy Reid elevated himself, let Alex Smith go, nurtured Patrick Mahomes along with Eric Bieniemy, and he got a $500 million contract. Under center, they're doing trick plays and gadgets. They're like mad scientists. You know what we should ask them for? The vaccine of COVID-19. I bet those two guys could come up with it. I really do. You got Travis Kelce out there running through the middle of the field, stiff-arming people holding the ball with one hand. You got the cheetah doing jet sweeps and going deep. And so watching the Kansas City Chiefs play allows me to realize they're toying with the competition. They are the clear-cut best team in the NFL.
I feel the exact same way. It's in a power rankings. It should be the Chiefs, and then you should have to like flip the page to get to the second team, which is probably going to be the Steelers or the Seahawks or the Packers or whoever. But Jalen, another thing I want to mention is this: is we celebrate the trick plays and we celebrate all the touchdowns and everything Patrick Mahomes does. But there's something that he's doing which is really impressive. It's actually what he's not doing. Let me show you a highlight from Patrick Mahomes. You see this? He drops back, throws, and he's picked off by the Raiders. Why am I showing you that? That is the only interception he has thrown all season long. He has one single interception, and not just that. Take a look at these stats. One fumble. Oh, he got that back.
Wow.
11 sacks. It might seem like a lot of sacks, but that's just over one sack a game, and his QBR is second in the league. Patrick Mahomes does so many things on the football field, but it's actually what he doesn't do, which is just as impressive, and that is get sacked, fumble the ball, or throw interceptions. And Jalen, while we're celebrating the offense, we also have to give a little hat tip to the defense. What do you like about the Chiefs' defense?
Their pass defense has been outstanding, Jacoby. And when you have an offense that's going to score the way the one we just highlighted, now all of a sudden defense, you can focus on pass rush. And Frank Clark, which is scary, is talking about how he wants to move around more, how he wants to see the defense be more gadget prone like the offense. So that's going to be crazy for the opposing teams. But I want to point something out to you, Jacoby. You've shown Patrick Mahomes one INT. That's also the one game that they lost. So we may or may not know. Maybe the Raiders have something that can be a problem for the Chiefs. They are playing good football, and Derek Carr is dropping dimes this year, but we're on the same page. The Kansas City Chiefs are the clear-cut best team in the NFL.
Yeah, and the Chiefs aren't perfect. You know, they squeaked by the Panthers last week, and they were in overtime against the Chargers early in the season. But I would say of all the teams are flawed, but this team is less flawed than the others. There's a but for every team. But again, this Chiefs team right now in this league is head and shoulders above everybody, not just in their conference, but in both conferences, in our opinion. Jalen, bombshell report from our colleagues, Woj and McMahon. They are hearing some whispers from some sources in Houston that their two former MVP All-Stars, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, are a little uncertain. They're a little uneasy of what's going on down there. Daryl Morey's gone. Mike D'Antoni's gone. Jalen, you've been around this kind of thing and involved in this kind of thing for your whole career. What do you think about this report?
I think a few things. The Houston Rockets were paying Daryl Morey top dollar for his three-point bombs away style, and Mike D'Antoni to implement it. Both of those guys are getting top dollar. Now when you bring in Silas, you want to trade your former MVPs. Here's what I'll say about that. Russell Westbrook and James Harden are vastly different in how they perform and how they will be received from another team. I believe if both of these guys are moved, Jacoby, they would be moved to low fringe playoff or non-playoff teams from this year. I think you'll look at the paper and be like, James Harden averaged 35, all of a sudden we're going to trade him into a contender. But his style, his isolation play, and his inability to play off the ball, that's not attractive to all teams. For Russell Westbrook, I saw the report that basically acknowledged a couple of teams in play. One of them being the Knicks, who I think should be in play for both of these guys because their team fit the dynamics of what I just said, should be looking for players like this. But also for Russell, the other team mentioned was the Clippers. Trust me, as somebody that's been around the league as long as I have, I understand what Jerry West likes and dislikes. I don't see Russell Westbrook as his type of player. And here's what I mean. He's not an accurate three-point shooter. He has high turnovers, and sometimes he makes questionable decisions in the last couple of minutes of the game. You don't become the logo of the NBA, as well as one of the greatest general managers of all time, and not have certain traits that you just frown upon. And based on that, I don't believe Russell Westbrook ends up a member of the Clippers.
Interesting. And I've said it before, I do not think what the Knicks should do is go trade in for a superstar. Don't you dare give away your picks. Don't give away your young players that I love like Robinson and Barrett. You can get rid of Randall and maybe Knox and throw something together, and if they're willing to do that, but who's taking on Randall, Knox, and a pick for Russell Westbrook? I'm just not sure that I see that happening. But Jalen, this is interesting. One thing in this report that I bet people won't really talk about is this. They were consulted in the Silas hire. They knew that Silas was coming in. So why do you think if they were involved in this hire, they co-signed it, why would they now be uncertain? Why would we be hearing about this now?
Oh, it ain't that they're uncertain. That's ownership in a lot of ways probably using Silas as a pawn toward the players to be a voice. So you get their buy-in to who they want. So therefore, if they're still on your team, they can't say that you didn't get them their guy. But at the same time, now that Silas and both of those players are still under contract, as ownership, you can now pivot and say, should we move both of them, if not one of their salaries, in order to actually rebuild? It's not just about trading the player, Jacoby. In a salary cap sport, it's trading the salaries in a lot of ways.
Yes, and there has been a lot of coverage of owner Tillman Fertitta's financial hits that he has taken due to the pandemic, as many businesses have. His business has been negatively affected. Now, Jalen, it would be big news if this report came out today, but there's also another report involving these players, kinda, because the man that was traded Russell Westbrook for, they moved out Chris Paul to bring in Russell Westbrook, and now Chris Paul had a great season on the Thunder. One of the stories of the bubble was how well they played down there. But now there's some rumors that potentially the Suns could be interested in acquiring CP3. What would that mean for the Suns, and what would that mean for Chris Paul?
So what it would mean for the Suns is leadership in the locker room and on the floor. Somebody that Devin Booker is going to respect and trust, their best player and a future superstar in this game. I'm pretty sure Monty Williams will also welcome having a coach on the floor, and that stability that Chris Paul will bring is invaluable to a stat sheet. He's going to play mid-range. He's going to make big shots. He's going to bring toughness. But here's one thing he's also going to bring: another ball handler. And when I watch Devin Booker, in a lot of ways, it's like Donovan Mitchell. You want to bring in somebody to be a primary ball handler with those guys, but when they have the ball in their hands, they're so unstoppable and dynamic, creating offense for themselves and teammates. It's almost like you want to keep the ball in their hands. And so because of Chris Paul's intangibles, if you're Phoenix and you can get them, you'll take them. But for Chris Paul, it would seem at this point of his career, especially not being willing, and nobody should in my estimation, to take a pay cut, I would think that he'd want to go somewhere else to be on a contending team, in particular the East. And I have 2 landing spots for him, the Heat and the Bucks. Those would be really good landing spots. Imagine all of the great basketball you saw from Chris Paul this year if he's doing it for one of those teams at the point guard spot. And so
if I'm the Suns,
it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
If I'm the Suns, my number one thing is keep Devin Booker happy. I would go straight to Devin Booker. Do you want Chris Paul on your team? Is that what you want? Because they really need to keep him happy. And I also love their young core. They're developing Cameron Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Oubre, Ayton. They've got a really good young team, and I don't think Chris Paul puts them into contention in the West. Doesn't put them into contention, so I don't know. If I were the Suns, I would balk at giving away a lot of young assets to bring in Chris Paul because I don't think Chris Paul puts them in the conversation. And they played so well in the bubble. Jalen, we have a story just for you. Isiah Thomas. Here's what Isiah Thomas had to say about competition with Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He said, quote, head-to-head, I was dominant over Michael Jordan until 91 when basically I had a career-ending wrist surgery. It really wasn't a competition there. My focus was Bird, Magic, Dr. J, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Jalen, he's your guy. What do you think about what Isiah Thomas said? There's no competition between him and Jordan.
My favorite team of all time is the Detroit Pistons, and it ain't even close. Shout to Dave Bing, top 50 player who was on here last night. And you know Isaiah's like a father figure, big brother, coach, mentor, JRLA sponsor, all of the above. Him and his wife, Lynn, are my thought partners and spiritual advisors in a lot of ways when I don't make quality decisions. This is GOAT talk, Jacoby. We're going to talk about Michael Jordan being the best to do it, but you know what I was thinking? As you was answering that question, I was like, who are the greatest point guards of all time? And I was like, Magic, Big O, and Isiah. So, he's probably one of the top 15 players of all time. And before 1991, my Detroit Pistons had a winning record against Magic and the Lakers, Bird and the Celtics, Jordan and the Bulls. What he said is a fact. However, after 89 and 90, when we won back-to-back championships, in 91, you got to turn that thing over to the Black Cat.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
He don't have to do it because he was on the floor. But the rest of us have to turn it over to the Black Cat.
Jalen, you had to turn it over to the Black Cat there, but don't turn the channel because joining us right after this short break, Freddie Gibbs joins Jalen Jacoby. Stay tuned for that. You're watching Jalen Jacoby.
You're watching Jalen and Jacoby, presented by Grey Goose.
Coming to you live from Pier 17 in the South Street Seaport and brought to you by Chase. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen joining us now as part of the Jalen and Jacoby family, a recurring guest. It is Freddie Gibbs. Gangsta Gibbs rejoins the program. Great to have you back. Now, I know you're a big sports fan, so we got to start with your Bears. Everything looked great. The Bears were looking so good, and then they switched to Foles. He won a couple games. But how do you feel about your Bears now after watching them be terrible for a couple weeks?
Hey, man, we might as well throw Trubisky in there because Foles is not a starter. You know what I mean? He's never been a starter. You know what I mean? It is what it is. He's a backup, dog. We got to just, we got to play it like that. Defense got to play better, though. We talking about the offense right now, but our defense looking suspect too, though, man. So, let's not leave that out.
I agree. Thank you for going there because I have the Bears defense and special teams and fantasy, and they giving up way too many points. So I agree with you, Gangsta Gibbs. What's up with your defense?
Man, I don't know, man. The secondary getting burnt, man. We just got, we got to get back right. And another main thing, we don't have a running game. We're not even talking about that. We keep talking about the quarterback. We don't even have a running game. So it's like, we can't move the ball.
I think we've settled it that everything is bad about the Bears right now. But one thing that is really good is your new single with Big Sean and Hit Boy, Four Things. Now, we've seen the video. We've seen the video, okay? We know that you are a big Bulls fan, but here you are kind of celebrating the Lakers championship. What was the concept behind that, and did it feel a little funny with all that Laker gear on?
Nah, it didn't really feel funny, man. I was just, me and Big Sean, we both live in L.A., so, it was cool. It was kind of like a celebration for Kobe. We was kind of, throwing it back to like the Kobe and Shaq days. So, when people ask me about the Lakers stuff, I be like, hey, man, I did it for Kobe, man.
That's a family affair. Anytime I see y'all two together, it just makes me happy because I love both of y'all so much and y'all spit bars. But the first thing I thought about when I saw, and by the way, Hit Boy just making so many hits, boy. What about the Clippers? You said you live in LA. What about the Clippers?
They got sent home, man.
Well,
shout out to my boy Pat
I heard
Bear.
you on with Benny the Butcher. You was unhappy with the Clippers. You was unhappy with them.
Hey, you know why I did that line? Because I bet on the Clippers, man. They lost me a lot of money, man. So I had, I was feeling bad that day when I went to the studio. Shout out to Pat Bear. That's my dog, though. You know what I'm saying? I love Pat Bear. You know what I'm saying? But I had to go in because they lost me a lot of money, man. They should have won that series.
Well, both you and Big Sean have been on this show a couple times. We always appreciate that. But one thing I want to discuss with you is you put up a video of you and Big Sean playing basketball together. I noticed that he didn't score any in the video that you posted. How did this game go down, and what is your game like?
Oh, it was a very, very one-sided game. I mean, Big Sean, he can't handle me at all, like on the court. Like he's zero competition. You see the Jordan. I was watching Last Dance. I had to put the Jordan moves on. You know what I'm saying? But nah, he can't really handle me. And really, no rapper could really handle me. I'm gonna tell you the truth. The best basketball player in the industry, to me, it's between like Chris Brown and like Key Glock. Everybody else, I ain't really worried about y'all. You know what I'm saying? And Snoop still got game. You know what I'm saying? J. Cole got fake game. I'm calling you out right now, national TV. You don't want that fade. You know what I'm saying? So it's all, as far as the rapper hoopers, they don't want it. I got a pair of your shoes, J. Cole. J. Cole, you know what I mean? He know I want to hoop him. That's why he keeps sending me them J. Cole Dreamer shoes in the mail. Let's put it to work. You know what I mean? He told me about to try out and go to the NBA. I want to see it. You know what I'm saying? But, let's do this.
Did you lace him up against Brian McKnight? Did you and Brian McKnight have something playing ball?
Oh, yeah. I balled Brian McKnight a long time ago in LA Fitness. I crossed him and then I dunked on him. So, one last cry, Brian McKnight. One last cry. You can get this work.
I've seen Quavo play pretty well. He's got a little janky lefty game, kind of like a Jalen Rose thing.
Quavo got game. He just ain't had the right person check him. You know what I mean? See, all these guys got this pretty offensive game. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a defender. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta score to win, baby. You can't score, you can't win. And that's that. So,
you love the sport. You just saw LeBron James get his fourth thing. Who's the GOAT of all time?
Of all time? Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Yes, indeed.
Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the greatest of all time. You know what I'm saying?
Can you school him and tell him why, Gangsta Gibbs? Can you school him? Please school him and tell him why. Please school him.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, nobody changed basketball like Michael Jordan. I mean, like from just an all-around level. The game is where it's at because Michael Jordan did what he did. You know what I mean? And, you can't really, you can't discount that whatsoever. Nobody played like that. LeBron is definitely, like you said, on Mount Rushmore basketball, but, Michael Jordan is the greatest player to lace him up ever, like, that we've ever seen in any era across anything. So that's that.
As someone who grew up in Gary, Indiana and supported the Chicago Bulls, what was the experience of reliving all of that while watching The Last Dance this summer?
Oh, man, that Last Dance, that inspired, like, my last couple projects. I watched The Last Dance while I was making Alfredo, and I was like, yo, it really put me in a...
Classic!
A real win mode, you know what I mean? Yes, sir, classic, for sure. Shout out to Alchemist, you know what I'm saying? So, that's what we was watching while we was making the project, and it just, that's why I made 1985, and then from there we just did all the rest of the record.
Gibbs, you're a young vet in the game, and when I'm watching these versus battles, you ready to get in one of these versus battles?
Nah,
who would you want to see?
Man, you know what? I'm ready to see T.I. and Jeezy. That's the one I'm ready. I'm really ready for that one. I can't wait for that one. That's the one
Who you got? Who you got?
Hey, man, these is both, legends in the game, dog. You know what I'm saying? Jeezy definitely a legend, T.I. a legend. So, I mean, they both got classic records. It's going to be tight, you know what I mean? In my personal opinion, I think Jeezy got it. I think Jeezy got the more records that, you know what I'm saying, that put you in the kind of, that mode. He got the records that's going to take me back and make me have a certain feeling. So, yeah, I think Jeezy got him on that one.
Freddie Gibbs, I want to thank you once again for joining us here on Jalen Jacoby. And if you at home, make sure you subscribe and listen to our podcast. We have exclusive content there
Bars!
with Gangsta Gibbs. We'll be
Go
back with much more. Stay tuned.
Alfredo.
You're watching
Alfredo.
Jalen Jacoby.
Both things.
The NBA draft is almost here, November 18th, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. So much intrigue. There'll be trades, there'll be surprises, and lives will be changed. Make sure you tune in. ESPN, next Wednesday at 7. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, I don't know why this makes me laugh so much, but your team that you've dedicated so much time and emotional resource into is the Detroit Lions. And now they put 10 players on the field against the Vikings 2 weeks ago. Oh, what happened? 70-yard run. Not just that, but Jalen, against the Colts in week 8, twice they put 10 players on the field on defense. 2 times, Jalen Rose. So that's 3 times in 2 weeks they lined up and didn't have 10 players on defense. What is your team doing? What is happening?
We have a defensive coordinator as our head coach, and we drafted a defensive player early in the first round. And those are all 3 different looks. It's Dalvin breaking a big run. It's a 5 or 8 yard scamper, and then the last one is a 2-point conversion. A 2-point, that means after they scored, they were going for 2, and they looked out there like, wait a minute, they only got 10 guys. Hurry up, snap the ball. Oh my goodness.
He's just showing them different looks. He's a mastermind. No one's ever done this before. 10 players on the field, defensive mastermind. We'll be back next Monday, 2 p.m. ESPN. Enjoy the Masters.
Big shout, Gangsta Gibbs.